I think the biggest problem with people is we have a tendency to view ourselves and our limitations more than our strengths and our capabilities and our potentials. We think about like the restrictions or the perceived limitations that are upon us. We accept the limitations other people give us. Like when you're growing up and you say you want to be a doctor, lawyer, astronaut, athlete, and people tell you you're not that smart, you're not that strong, you're not that talented, we tend to believe them. In fact, it's so like woven into the human psychology that when someone tells you you're great, you actually think they're lying. There's literal research that says when people give you a compliment, you tend to think they're lying or trying to manipulate you. But when people give you an insult, you perceive them as more honest. That's the human psychology and how we take on data from the external world. But that leads to massive, massive problems. And it stops us from being able to overcome the kind of challenges that we often face. It stops us from being able to navigate change. And change is happening all around us all of the time. But you've got to be able to think about yourself in a different way if you want to be at the very best of yourself. If you want to be the very best you can possibly be, we've got to train ourselves to think limitlessly and go beyond the limits that were taught to us. And that's what I'm going to talk about here today. So welcome back to the aha moments, where every day I share the lessons I've learned in my work as a psychotherapist and in my life to inspire you to live your very best life. Of course, I'm your host, Elliott Connie. First of all, a bit about my journey is when I was growing up, and I don't think I'm unique. I don't think I'm special. I don't think I have some sort of story that nobody else had. But I absolutely had people around me when I was growing up that were much more interested in telling me what I couldn't do than they were telling me what I could do. Like when I told people I wanted to be a professional athlete, they laughed at me. Literally laughed at me. They are like, no one from here does that. When I told people I want to go to college, they laughed at me. Literally laughed at me. Oh, you're not college material. I had a high school guidance counselor. This dude's entire job was to make sure I was taking the kind of classes that made me eligible to go to college and be successful. That was his literal employment. When I told him I want to go to college, he literally told me, you are not college material. And again, I have the human psychology. I function as everybody else does. When he told me that, I believed him. Why wouldn't I? I was a 14-year-old kid. I was a sophomore in high school. You're a grown man. Your full-time employment is helping people transition from high school to college. And he's telling me that I'm not college material. And I took that on. And as a result, I had low self-esteem, low confidence, low self-worth, low self-value, all of those things. And then when life starts to hit me with changes and curveballs and obstacles, when I experienced challenges being away from home for the first time in college, when my mother had a health issue when I was in college that ended up with us having to pack up and move from Massachusetts to Texas, and I had to change schools I was going to. You don't go through these things thinking, I can do it, I can do it, I can do it. You think, I'm going to fail, I'm going to fail, I'm going to fail. And you have a tremendous amount of fear and angst and anxiety. But if you can start looking at yourself, not about the limitations upon you, but if you start looking at your potential, you start seeing that you can absolutely, I don't know what that word is, absolutely, I just made up a word, but you can absolutely achieve anything. Like there is nothing outside of what you can do. And the challenges put in front of you are absolutely not about testing you, or they're not about breaking you, or they're not about how unlucky you are. But to be truthful, to be honest with you, the challenges that we face are opportunities for you to prove how strong you are, not to anyone else, but to yourself. Because when you believe that you are strong, when you believe that you are capable, when you believe that you can achieve anything, that's what makes the biggest difference in the world in terms of you being able to overcome obstacles in front of you. And certainly in terms of you being able to navigate changes that comes at you through life. Happens to all of us, all of the time. And I want you to believe in yourself beyond measure so that you can achieve absolutely anything. So my challenge to you listeners is I want you to think of all the challenges you're facing in your life right now, all the changes that you're facing in your life right now. And I want you to view them as opportunities for you to demonstrate how capable and strong you are instead of being challenges. Thanks for being here. If you wouldn't mind doing me a super huge favor, I would love it if you would share this podcast with at least one person in your life that you think could benefit from hearing this message today. And also, don't forget to subscribe on Apple Podcasts or anywhere else you listen to your podcast. And also follow me on all of the social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky. You can search for my name, Elliott Connie, or at Elliott Speaks. That's my handle across all platforms. Can't wait to see you tomorrow.